G'day! In this video we're going to talk about how to shoot fireworks. And I'm talking about big public display fireworks here. What gear to use, how to set it up, what your settings are, how to get the best shots. Right after this. Okay, well let me tell you that shooting fireworks is actually pretty easy. It all just comes down to the setup and how you set your exposure. So let's not waste any time, we'll get right into it. The first thing you're going to need for shooting fireworks is your camera, either a DSLR or a mirrorless, or at least some camera that allows you manual controls. You're also going to need a tripod. You'll need to work out what lens you want, whether or not you want to get wide shots of the fireworks, you might need something a little bit wider, or whether or not you want to hone right in on those starbursts, punch them with a bit of zoom, you might need something a little bit tighter. I generally go with something quite wide, with the option of around about a 24 up to maybe a 50, something along those lines, to be able to capture some of the surroundings when you're taking photos of the fireworks. Okay, really important here, you are going to need a tripod. You are going to be doing long exposure photographs, so it's not possible to hand hold the camera and get nice sharp fireworks shots. Okay, so you've got your tripod set up, you've got your camera, you've worked out where you're going to be shooting. The next thing to do is to set your exposure. And what I do in these situations is it's generally getting pretty dark by the time the fireworks display is about to start. So you may think you need quite a high ISO, but actually the opposite is true. I ran my ISO right down, and the reason is that because when the fireworks go off, there's going to be enough light for your camera without having to reach into the ISO. As far as the aperture is concerned, you can set it at whatever you want. You could have it at your lens's fastest aperture setting, or you could stop it down a wee bit to bring some of the surroundings or the environment into focus as well. It's up to you, wherever you want the aperture to be. It's not hugely important, but of course the more you stop down, the less light you're going to get within the time of your long exposure. And then when it comes to the shutter, you want to set it somewhere between 2 and 8 seconds. The reason I say that is through experience and through trial and error. Initially when I first photographed fireworks, I thought the longer I could leave the shutter open, the better, because then I'd capture more activity within the frame during the time the shutter was open. But in actual fact, it doesn't really pay off, because during that time you get multiple explosions of fireworks and it all becomes quite mushy. So like I say, I allow between 2 and 8 seconds, and around about that 4-second mark seemed to be the sweet spot. It allows the fireworks to explode off in the frame and also give you a really good picture of what happened during that time. If in doubt, I would start at 4 seconds, see what shot you get, and then go from there. And that brings me to the point of chimping. When you're taking photographs of fireworks, yeah, you might have to chimp and check the display, check the photos you're taking, firstly to make sure that your focus is on point, because in order to focus, you're probably best going to be using manual focus. What you don't want to happen is when you set off the exposure, the focus hunts and doesn't pick up on the fireworks or focuses somewhere else in the frame. So for me, I use manual focus. I use the first firework or first couple of fireworks to make sure I've got that infinity setting keyed off on the fireworks. You're basically looking for the pixels to become nice and tight within the frame, and then you know where your manual focus is. Leave it set at that, and then all you're doing is firing off shot after shot after shot. Now when it comes time to firing off the shot, I set on shutter delay 2 seconds, so I'm able to push the shutter button and then not cause any camera movement when the exposure sets off. If you have a look in this shot here of the fireworks, you can see that it's all zigzaggy and jaggy up the lines of the fireworks, and this is actually not the fireworks, that is from camera movement. That's the camera shaking on the tripod. So the more still and the more stable you can have your camera on the tripod, the more sharp and crisp and true to life your fireworks photos are going to be. Okay, so we talked about the tripod, we've got the focal length, we've got the camera on there, we've got the ISO set as low as we want, the aperture can be whatever you want to bring into focus as much as you desire. The shutter speed is going to be a little bit longer, between 2 and 8 seconds, maybe somewhere in that sweet spot there. You're going to use a 2-second timer delay on the shutter to fire the shot. Your white balance can be whatever you want to set it in, auto white balance. I mean, it's nighttime, so that's up to you. Be sure to set your camera to shoot in RAW, because then if you do wish to adjust your white balance, or you wish to bring other elements into the colors in the fireworks later in post, you're able to do so. Manual focus is best to avoid focus hunting, and do check your shots. You can chimp. Look at your shots, check that they're in focus. Once you've got all that set up and the fireworks show starts, you know you've got about 5, 10, 15 minutes of fireworks to capture. Just keep hitting that shutter button, recycling the shot, just dropping the shutter, collecting all the shots, because the idea is you don't necessarily have to know exactly what you're getting at the time. You're going to get as much as you can. You're going to drag it all back home. You're going to edit it and find the winners. Okay, a bit of a bonus point that I will give you is It is all very well just drop the shutter, drop the shutter, drop the shutter, drop the shutter, but also you can compose your images somewhat to a degree within that time frame. And what you're doing is you're looking at the fireworks and you're trying to identify when moments of symmetry are going to develop in the sky, and that's when you want to set off your shutter. So maybe as the fireworks are rising into the sky, set off your shutter, they then bloom and explode, your exposure finishes, and then you're ready to go for the next one. And in that time, you may well have captured quite a nice symmetrical moment in the sky. Hey, look, I'm no expert at shooting fireworks, but I have done it quite a few times, and I've worked out for me the best system. The first time I went and did it, it took me ages to get set up. Now it's really, really quick. All I do is I grab my camera, I grab my tripod, I set my ISO low, I set my aperture pretty wide, I set my shutter at 4 seconds, I set my white balance at auto, I set the shutter release at 2-second delay, manual focus. Good to go. It's all good to go, really quick and set up and easy, and you get these wonderful shots. Hey, if you do have other questions about shooting fireworks, do let me know. Otherwise, you can check out other videos I've made right here. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.